Yeah, I like being backlit. Actually, we're approaching the longest day of the year, not too far away, 3.5 weeks. And I'll, when I come up here in the near future, I'm going to have to be sitting in that wheelchair a foot or two over because the sun has made this spot kind of miserably hot for the last hour or so. But I wanted to tell you, referring back to the last video about the bird that was actually kind of was getting sick to my stomach thinking about it. Uh, when I went to, oh, there's a bonus round, stick around. Actually, I got long view durations. When you look at the averages, it shows that a very large percentage of my viewers watch all the way to the end. I mean, a lot of them. Uh, I do have analytics and I know how to read analytics. Anyway, I went over to gather my shirts and shorts and stuff drying on the smooth barked uh, crepe myrtle trees. That's perfect for them because they don't pick up any junk off the tree, especially after a rain when the bark's already washed. And actually, once they were dry, they smell like slightly like the tide, just a little bit. I was worried about it because actually the water was stinky. It was kind of, no, it all came out. But walking over there, it took me forever to the farthest because I was looking for that little tiny bird. You'll see him in the last video. And, I'm glad I didn't take harsh actions. Like on the bat, that was a different thing. That was possible rabies. Rabies can be transmitted in saliva. A simple little bite, even just a little bit of saliva in an open wound or something, or then you have to go through all the injections and stuff. Anyway, but the little bird somehow, actually, the mother came up. The mother came up. I need to get myself right in it. And she just ignored the baby. She can't do anything to help it. She's not strong enough to lift a bird that's almost her weight. And she just really, she can always have another clutch of eggs if they all, but somehow that little bird, he managed to make it off into deep grass where he's pretty much safe from predators. There's almost no hawks in this area. Haven't seen a single kestrel in this area. Those are the what y'all might call a chicken hawk or something. Haven't seen any shrikes. Shrikes often impale mice on like a fence post to come back and eat it later. It's a fence, barbed wire fence. They'll impale them and just leave them there to come back, and they'll collect several and come back and feed on them. But I'm glad I did what I did. At least this young thing that's only, a few weeks old, been growing like crazy and stuff, and has been trapped in that little nest, is hardwired to escape and be free and fly. And at least it got to get out and hop around, and it'll probably survive all night with the grass and close to the warmth of the soil and stuff like that. And it did show once that when I was first messing with it, and it showed a sign that had the instinctive pecking kind of thing. If it learns to peck and eat food, it might live long enough. Who knows? At least I didn't kill it. It'll die kind of on its own terms, free, out there in the grass and getting to look at all kind of cool shit. And maybe, but birds usually don't do that. Maybe some of the other, it's a female grackle, I'm sure now. Did a color match on And even though I hate grackles, I was still, that's why you can make one little YouTube on video about little tiny little kitties and stuff and get 16 million views because people love cute little harmless things. Although a lot of little things are far from harmless, especially small minds. This is your bonus round. After taking care of all my stuff and getting up here, and I'm still communicating with my best friend and taking care of that, it came up on some guy had commented, and right off the bat I realized this guy is fucking batshit fucking retard. His name was something like Ken Norton or something like that. I mean, Tim Norton, Tim Horton, Tim Borden, who cares? And he goes, I agree with Tim. You couldn't have been like the executioner of the state of Texas and this and that. Number one, I didn't say that. I said I turned down the job as the next and first chemical executioner of the state of Texas. See, that's the problem with retards. And also, these people appear to be coming from Iowa. It wasn't Tim, is it Tim Jordan or something like that from Jefferson? You'll see in one of my previous videos. It was Tim Jordan or something like that was trying to talk about Jesus, and Jesus forgives everything. And I said, and everybody, and I go, Adolf too. And he actually led me into a situation where I just didn't care because you're on my channel and nothing. I actually made a reply to him once, and he had it taken down as it's only temporary. I can always appeal, The minute I saw he was going to play dirty and shit, you're on my channel, and you think you're going to fucking lead me into nobody fucking, Jesus ain't going to say no goddamn Adolf Hitler. Fuck you. Hi. It ain't going to happen. You're insane. What was his name? Tim Jordan was his name. Now, the other Tim, what he was talking about was what Rodney Raygor said from Jefferson, Iowa. So that tells me that they all kind of know each other, probably. Or they're all just mutually retarded. Iowa was pretty much known as the meth production of, bad, like bad bathtub crank and shit forever because it's an agricultural area. They had, big tanks full of anhydrous ammonia, which can be used in making certain forms of amphetamines. They're not particularly pure or anything else, but they are a form of methamphetamine. Not very good, but it's super dangerous to work with anhydrous ammonia. It's really not. They rarely even steal more than a gallon or two. They'll cut the locks off them tanks, steal a couple of 3 gallons, go make up a little batch and stuff. But Iowa was known for that. Famous for it was their low-grade crank and meth for shit forever until the cartel started supplying some, high-grade glass, ice. So it seems like probably the homo that's been the bully, he's probably got some, that's probably really where he's from, is from nowhere, Shitville, flat as a fucking table. Look at Jefferson, Iowa. Do you see I didn't even pull up topographical map. I know what it looks like. I told you the best part about Iowa, of course, it'd be, although gas is going up on the corner, it's for like $2 and something cents a gallon. But for around what would be now about $7.50, and I really don't even hardly remember a stop sign even at interstate. I just rolled in like 5th gear across the whole state. Cost me, I remember, is because when I topped off my tank, It's only took $2.50 to top it off. I topped it off before going into Iowa because I figured, and then once I got to the other side, I had to go, let's top it off again. It's all depends on what I'm feeling like. I like to keep a full tank when I'm traveling long distance. I don't like to burn it down. And so, yeah, that guy was actually reported one of my comments for, and then I gave him the standard treatment, which is I say something, about his sexuality or something, which is always true, and then block him. And he had subscribed a couple weeks ago or something. Just sitting there, I didn't even watch one of his little dumbass videos to just see how dumbass he was. That was Tim Jordan, Iowa, somewhere in Iowa. Rodney Raygor is Jefferson, Iowa. You see, that guy blew it the minute he said what he said. Is Tim somebody said that I agree with Tim. You couldn't have possibly have been all these things, or you just apparently don't know much about history and historical figures such as myself. They often can do all sorts of things. They can play 28 musical instruments. They've been, like Jimmy Stewart, they've been everything from the other day I misquoted, it was 42 combat missions and survived World War II, and made 100 odd movies and shit. There are people there are people who are capable of doing more than the two things that you do, which is raise frankenfood corn and drink beer. And I bet you're probably not even having much sex, except with maybe your boyfriends. You people are hilarious. You still think you're going to come on here and talk some shit and think that it's going to be up there long enough for anybody else to read it or agree with you. No, it's not. And just the way you stated it proves that all three of you were in it together. Tim Jordan started off and sicked his buddy Rod Raygor on me. And then Tim whatever, probably a fake deal, because as I recall, there wasn't anything on that channel. Actually, there wasn't anything on Rod Raygor's channel. Would I piss off the entire trailer park there in Jefferson, Iowa? Is that what happened? Y'all really actually think that you can put a dent in somebody whose ego is as massive as mine? To step onto a field of battle or onto a football field, you have to have chutzpah. You have to have supreme self-confidence. You have to have an ego as big as all outdoors. Because if you have any doubt that you're going to lose, trust me, you will fucking lose. And losers coming onto my channel trying to question what is a matter of record. You're retarded. You're just fucking straight up retarded. All the things I talk about are a matter of record except for the off the books work for the feds. There's no records on that. I was even paid through a fucking front company in Miami. Whenever I was on shore and shit like that, or whenever the hell I needed, I would just drop by and they'd cut me a check. I'd take it to the bank, sock some away, keep some cash in my pocket, maybe cambio some of it into whatever national currency I might need next. Not much, because you don't want to be rich in South America. You don't want to ever have more than a few pesos on you, or bolivars, or whatever the hell that the country's currency is. Oh yeah, I'm pressing that down. I'm pressing about to pack it away. I had a pretty productive day, but about 3.5 hours I lost with that young bird and stuff but yet I'm still happy that it worked out that way. That little creature, It's still alive right now. I examined its belly good. If you remember on the film, all of a sudden it's standing there and all of a sudden you see a little poop of white there. It's excreting the minerals that it doesn't need for its bones. It had big old legs on it. It was just so close to fledging, and it was just a matter of a couple of weeks before it was well on its way to being a full-grown adult female grackle. Birds don't take long. All you people say those chickens are 6 weeks. They must be giving them hormone. No, a lot of birds, pigeons, they're full grown in 6 weeks. That's what we call them squab. Most chickens, unless you're trying to grow, something, unless you're breeding them for laying eggs, or you're trying to grow broilers, they're ready to harvest in about 6 weeks. A lot of birds don't take long to mature. There's some birds that take longer, but they tend to be the raptors and stuff like that. The predatory, though. In general, it's around 6 weeks for most birds from the time they break out of the egg until they're ready to fly and start feeding themselves. Anyway, I just want to put this out there. The sun, I think, just got below the horizon. It was a little uncomfortably warm. I was leaning this way, and now I know I'm going to have to sit in that wheelchair right there, a few feet over, to beat it for the next 3 weeks. I'm going to have to be in that wheelchair, and I may have to eventually move that wheelchair a couple feet over to keep that sun off the back of my head and my back as we heat up. This ain't like, well, actually, 2 summers ago was brutal. That was actually, they said last summer was like 2 summers ago was the hottest that I can remember in Austin. We really had more than 100 days over 100 degrees. You can't trust the city's records because they're collecting it over at nice, cool Camp Mabry. There's plenty of grass and there's far away from the concrete and shit like that. There are these things we call microclimates. And I know that, really, what would have been like really, anyway, my first summer in Austin, actually, I didn't get there till about it was pretty uncomfortable, but the summer after that, it was fucking brutal. It was just, I did have a cool little campsite in a bamboo grove on Shady Lane until the developer decided to have it condemned for, well, that was just, sorry, they had to cite the place for unsanitary conditions. It wasn't. There was a couple campsites in there, but that was their excuse to come in and send in, some Hispanic landscaping, cleanup crews and stuff like that, and bulldoze it all along the fence line and began to get it ready to turn that property. Finally sold that property and turned it into a block of apartments. I haven't been back since they, once they ordered us out, I had to find a new place. And I missed that because those bamboos, that's like I keep talking about the term, my Thermopylae, my Hell's Gate, because you couldn't get at me through because there was a zigzag going in. You couldn't get at me through that bamboo thicket and stuff. And if you tripped, the guys that had previously cut all those bamboo stumps coming up had a sharp, it's, what do you call it, like a chisel shape. If you fell, it was going right through you. It cut them with a chainsaw, and it all cut them at an angle. Yeah, it was like like being surrounded by the pathway into my little camp it was the only safe place to really sleep on the edge of a really bad neighborhood. And a 7-Eleven was just filthy. Didn't have much stock and had to hire ex-cons to handle the customers. Anyway, that was 2 summer. Anyway, that's around the time I did though get approved for subsidized housing. The problem is that all the housing I've looked at so far has been uh, actually not really up to HUD standards, or it's been energy, the newer stuff that's kind of more, it's all airtight. There's not enough exchange of air in that building. It's lung disease waiting to happen. And people that are used too much fabric softener and fragrances and shit. Well, fabric softeners are used fragrances. You see those Gain commercials where they sell the fabric softener and people sit around sniffing it. Fuck you. These are the clothes I'm sitting on right now. I folded them neatly. I got them in the bag, and I'm ironing them with my ass right now before I put them in the pack. Here shortly, I'm hoping to have a long evening. Oh, that's lovely in the distance. And kind of try to relax and stuff. Uh, been kind of a long day for me. Oh man. Actually, it was really all the bending and stooping, and I kind of messed up my air a little bit because I only had like a little light track in and would have been using the same one out, and I was trying to turn around. I cared about that little creature, like any kind of real normal, mentally healthy human being would. But in the end, I just had to let it go. Sometimes when you love someone or something, you got to set it free. Actually, as I told you, it decided, because at first it was getting real close to me and using me because it could tell that I was a friendly live thing. It wasn't harming it. I was as gentle as I could with it. I spent about an hour perched on my thumb, but it wasn't giving me the signals that it was ready to eat and stuff. I was hard. Every time I'd get some pill bugs or other stuff together for it to eat, it wouldn't do it. And then when I wasn't ready, it would do it. It did it a couple times. And off in the distance, I see probably 40 or 50 miles away, and over there too, there's a cumulonimbus cloud that's got a top on it of about 35,000 feet. There's going to be some rain in that direction probably shortly, especially as the sunlight that's still on it. See, it's orange. Let's see if you can see that. It's orange, meaning the sunlight's still on it. And as it begins to cool, it should condense and bring the rain down. Cumulonimbus. Nimbuses. 23 minutes. Dude, the guy who commented and stuff like that, just because in your whole lifetime, you've only been able to do one or two things, like, farmer, carpenter, something like that, and chronic beer drinker, doesn't mean that other people, there are people on this planet that can do all kinds of shit, have many talents, and have been employed often to do a dozen different things in their lifetime. Because why? We're smarter than you. We have skills and gifts that you will never have. It's evidenced by the fact that you misquoted the guy. Misquoted me even. I never said I was the executioner. I said I was offered the job, but I turned it down. You see, when you start doing that ghetto trailer park shit, where you deliberately misquote somebody, then I know you come from the church, you attend the Church of the Subgenius. That's right. Church of the Subgenius.